Hello and welcome all to the second day of Higher EdTech Innovation Conclave. This is the second day. Yesterday we had a very interesting day discussing about a lot of issues in higher education and skilling for India. Today we are going to discuss again very important topic. I would say skilling the key to better jobs. Yes, you heard me right. We'll be discussing about exploring trends in online learning, upskilling, employability, emerging skills, and future of work. Today, with us, we have a very eminent panel. I would start introducing with our moderator, that is Dr. Akhil Shahani, Managing Director, the Shahani Group. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahani, for joining us. We have Dr. Rupa Vasudevan, Chancellor, Best Innovation University. Dr. Rupa, very warm welcome. We have Dr. R.S. Bawa, Pro Chancellor, Chandigarh University. Dr. Bawa, welcome. We have with us Sandip Kumar Banarjee, President, Administration, Adamas University. Mr. Sandip, welcome. We have with us Mr. Kumar Vikrant, Regional Director, Coursera for Campus. Mr. Kumar, we welcome you to this panel.
Thank you.
So, this is a very important panel. We will be discussing about a lot of issues related to skilling, how to match India's skilling environment with the global standards. What will Industry 4.0 look like in next 20 years? For this, I would request Dr. Akhil Shahani, Managing Director, the Shahani Group, and the moderator of this session to please take over. Over to you, Dr. Akhil Shahani.
Thank you very much, Gopi, and I'm very glad to have such a highly eminent panel who are really, I'm looking forward to a fantastic session over the next 15 minutes. So let's talk about Industry 4.0. Now, all of us, actually, the students that we are teaching will be having careers that will last for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And as the saying says, is that we are training them from jobs that don't exist yet. So the question really is, let's start with a very speculative view. Let's talk about, forget about the recent past. Let's talk about the next 20 years. Let's start speculating, what will industry look like? What's Industry 4.0, the knowledge economy, technology enabled? So let me start by asking Rupa. Rupa, what in your mind does Industry 4.0 look like over the next 20 years? What are we going to see? What can we expect? So on and so forth. Rupa, you'll have to
I'm on unmute, yes. Thank you, Akhil, for your question. And I thank APACEIC for having given this opportunity to our university and me to be speaking in this illustrious audience today with the illustrious speakers who are on the platform. Well, I run an enterprise, literally, when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to agribusiness, and then we also have a private university in Andhra Pradesh. Now, having an enterprise isn't easy because of the pure fact that there is always a dearth of good manpower. And I'm sure everybody here in this platform relates to what I'm saying. So I think the way to go forward, Industry 4.0 is about, which is already started, is about the gig economy. The world is moving away from standardization. The world is moving away from, into short-term industry-specific programs. And industry needs skilling more than anything else. I think the workplace right now and for the near future is going to be, changing rapidly. And it's already started changing rapidly with the gig economy. We have left the age-old education system where, degree is everything. A certificate from a prestigious university will be of very negligible value, I would say, in the job market. The gig economy is expected to take over services, jobs, everything very shortly, and it does not require a master's degree. It does not require a PhD, but rather skills and rather the willingness to work anywhere for anyone at any time. I think that is what Industry 4.0 looks like to me.
Lovely, thank you very much. And so interesting, gig economy and no need for degrees. So RS, what do you think? What does Industry 4.0 look to you? And will we all be gig workers with no degrees? What are your thoughts?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Akhil. And my esteemed colleagues, fellow panelists. Well, I think let's first understand, Industry 4.0 is evolving. It's it was coined in 2011 in Germany. and people started using it a couple of years later. But I think still the definition itself is evolving, and we need to be clear about what was the background of defining 4.0. To my mind, what is happening is, and it started from Germany for the very simple reason that the automation and use of technology is best known in Germany. And what is going to happen in the next 20 years is that all the processes are not only going to be automated, as many as possible, but they are going to be AI based. So AI based algorithms and machines are going to be used. A lot of robotics will be coming into play. A lot of predictions will be based on this. And let me also make a small passing remark here that many a times we understand that only manufacturing and all those kind of things will use AI or supercomputers and all. But supercomputers, to my knowledge, were first of all used for prediction of weather, because the most complex phenomena. So the most complex phenomena will use the most complex computing technologies and facilities. So what is going to happen is that almost all those processes which are repetitive will be taken over by the machines, by automation, and everything will be based on AI. Let me also say that AI is going to take over even the work in the offices, to the extent that we can use AI for locating files, for locating data we might have lost. So the effect is going to be like this. Number one, all industries and all businesses are going to use AI, including agriculture, including pharmacy, including law. They're going to use AI in a big way. This is one. The second is that the repetitive work will not be done by humans most of the times. But at the same time, there will be a lot of jobs which will be requiring human manpower, which cannot be replaced. And they are by no mean jobs. Like if you want to ask me that planning of things, that will be done by humans. If you talk about maintenance of automation in machines, that will be done by humans. The programming of all the machines, even AI-based algorithms and working on the machine, that will be done by the humans. So I think what we need to train for the future is, number one, we must empower and enable the future students. Empower and enable. Because what will be required will be not technological or knowledge quotient. Knowledge quotient is not big deal because knowledge will change very fast. So what technology I've learned today may not be relevant tomorrow. So what is important is intelligence quotient, of course, number one. Number two, emotional quotient. The people will have to face a lot of change. So they will have to be a part of change. They will have to develop the capacity to de-learn and relearn very quickly. And their emotional quotient, their spiritual quotient, and I think the one quotient which most of us have not been talking about, physical quotient. The physical and mental health are going to be of immense importance. I am underlining this as a teacher and as an academic administrator. The most neglected part of our thing, two things, I think. Emotional quotient we have started talking about a little bit, but we are not talking about physical quotient. We are not talking about spiritual quotient. These two things. And automation and AI is what is going to transform everything, and we should be a part of the change. We should prepare the student to be a part of the change and learn technologies very quickly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, RS. A very, very expansive view on the aspect of AI and automation and the sort of jobs. So let me move on to Sandip. Sandip, your thoughts. I mean, of course, RS has spoken about AI and automation, but let's talk about other aspects. What else do you see happening in Industry 4.0? Do you see flying cars and space travel? Or again, let's be very expansive and let's look at what's the next 20 years going to look like here. Sandip, what do you think? I think Sandip seems to have frozen. Okay, so I'm going to jump then to Vikrant. Vikrant, until Sandip's thing is sorted. So same question to you. So besides AI and automation, what do you think the world's going to look like? Are we going to have EVs, flying cars, space travel? What does industry look like over the next 20, 25 years?
Absolutely. Hi, thanks for having me here. And it's great to meet all of you. And some of the points have already been mentioned earlier, but what I would like to start is with the very basic in terms of what's the tectonic shift happening and why is it happening, and then come to in terms of what are the trends that's shaping. So obviously, some of you have already mentioned about automation already was something in place. But I think what COVID-19 did is just accelerated it. And together, it's making huge tectonic shifts and making an impact in multiple facets. One, obviously, jobs being displaced almost, and as per the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, almost for 85 million jobs are going to be displaced by 2025. Also, the nature of skills required for every role is going to change. So almost 47% of the core skills will change itself. 40% of the workforce is going to operate remotely. And almost 91% of the businesses will accelerate digitization. One more trend that's shaping up pretty dominantly is that employers are moving to skills first hiring. So they are looking at skills and saying, does this person actually have the skill sets and not just the degrees or the certificates that they have? And they are figuring out ways to get that into place. And as per the Microsoft report itself, what it says is there are almost going to be 149 million digital jobs going to be created over by, let's say, 2025 or so, and maybe beyond that. And these will be in the area of almost software development, cloud data roles, data analysis, MIAL, cybersecurity, privacy, and trust. And if you look at the top 10 jobs where is going to be huge amount of growth, and again, this is based on the Future of Jobs report, is in the areas of data analysts or scientists, AI, ML, learning specialists, big data specialists, process automation specialists, digital transformation specialists, information security, software application processes. And I think what's going to have a huge impact is focusing on skills, but not just the tech skills, but also human skills. And I think together, human skills and digital skills will be required for anyone who wants to make an impact at the job. And some of this was mentioned by Dr. Bawa as well in his opening remarks as well. I think human skills is going to become an integral part of the success factor as we go ahead into the next 20 years of Industry 4.0. Back to you, Akhil.
Thank you very much, Vikrant. So interesting. I think the general sense I get from our panelists is that most of the jobs in the future will either be automated or will require human beings to support automations like AI analysts and data analysts and things like that. But let's step out of that, because obviously I know technology is going to be there, but there still will be some jobs that require human beings, especially healthcare, things like that. So let's go back to Rupa and figure out. So Rupa, in your mind, what are the jobs that you think that will always require human beings to execute over the next 20, 30 years? I'm sure there must be something human beings can do.
I will come back again to speaking about skills, and skills, because there are certain skills that we need to see. As an educationist, it's extremely challenging for me to bring in skills like empathy, creativity, the curiosity mindset, designing, planning. These cannot be taken over by AI, no matter what we do, even in the future. I think these all are going to remain with the human touch, and moreover, AI, of course, it will take over the insurance. It will take over the warehouses. We see that the e-commerce, the customer service, the production, the advertising and social media, these have all, and banking and healthcare also, to a great extent, because there is an intervention. But the right way to put this up will be, because I also deal with a lot of agriculture and farmers, the integration of technology and humans. So in agriculture, where I have seen that, there are these drones that are being with AI, and that identify which part of the farm has pest infestation, and which part of the farm needs intervention from the farmer. But then beyond that, it is the intervention of humans, which will ideally decide as to how to go about it for that particular problem there. So I think the skills that we teach our students, more than anything, has to go to the fundamental levels of empathy, creativity, to be more curious, to design, the design thinking that we speak about, so all these things will remain sans AI and sans robotics and sans technology, where human intervention will be 100% required. This is what I feel.
Very valid point. Hopefully that's a good. It's nice to know there's hope for humanity and especially jobs over the future. But let me go back to RS again. So RS, there are a lot of innovations in biotech. Like for example, you hear about gene editing and the life sciences. People are saying the life sciences is going to be where a lot of growth is going to happen over the next 30, 40 years. So do you, outside of, let's say, technology in terms of, let's say, computer technology and data, do you see a lot of growth happening in, like what Rupa said, like, for example, life sciences, agriculture, professional work, where we see a lot of development happening, where human nature and human skills are needed? So where do you see that happening?
Earlier, the technology, maybe AI, maybe IoT, algorithms will be created and, general software machines will be created. But where they are going to be applied? All this is to be decided by the humans. I'll start from where Dr. Rupa has, completed her intervention. Even in agriculture, for example, well, as he said, what is required to be done will be decided by the humans. I'll give you a simple example. One of my students has, innovated and created a small gadget, which if you put in the farm, it will tell you the moisture level. It will tell you the temperature outside. It will guide you when to irrigate and what level of irrigation is required for a particular field. Now, what is added to this is that now that will not be done by the humans. It's already connected. The gadget is connected to the water source and other things, and automatically it will be decided that now you water it and now you stop it and all those kind of things will be done. But then what kind of research is to be done will be decided by the humans. Application, as you were saying, in biosciences and other things. The next best use of supercomputers has been in identifying genes and working on genes and genomes. And also a lot of work is being done on biomedical sciences. All these things, of course, will require, for example, I'll give you another counter example, for example, we are fascinated by the car designs, outer shells of cars and all those kind of things. And it is predicted that in the next 10 years, at the most, these will be done by 3D printers. So outer shell is created, all that. But what will be the human role is in optimizing things. Human role will be in creating engines, in controlling them, in applying them. And now coming to another field. As more and more technology is being used, a lot of glitches are coming. A lot of problems we are facing, a lot of hacking of things and all those kind of things, even at the highest level. So human role will be two areas to my mind. Number one, in information security, cyber security. That is solely the job of the humans. Humans will have to fight, and ensure that the use of technology is in the interest of the people and you safeguard their interest. Number two, more and more applications of AI, and more applications of IoT and where you use and how you use. And finally, to stop misuse of this will be the role of humans. To see the ethical angle, where to stop, and that will be decided by the humans. And therefore, this is one role, one kind of jobs which will be always available to the human. The second is, those jobs which are repetitive, not at the same place. Like, small jobs which are plumbing and all those kind of things, electrical fittings and everything, that will always remain the job of humans. And these are going to get more and more valuable in future, because as the technology improves, as automation takes place, to maintain that automation and to ensure that it works will always be the job of the humans. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, RS. Sandip, is your connection up and running? Okay, no problem. So let's jump to Vikrant. So Vikrant, so we seem to have a very good overview by RS and Rupa about what the future is going to look like in the next 20, 30 years in terms of what are the areas where the jobs are going to be required and what they need to develop. However, now the problem is that us education institutions online and offline have to train students to do well in this VUCA environment. So let's talk from your point of view. What are some of the skills that colleges and online providers like yourself, Coursera, can do to, how can you develop students to face this uncertain VUCA world where so many things are going to change? So what should we change today in our own education system ourselves?
Yeah, Absolutely, and then there's already work being done, and some of the points that my co-panelists mentioned, I think is absolutely relevant, and I agree with their perspective as well. And from our perspective, and what we see is based on a lot of data that we're collecting, and there's massive amount of data because of the learners, millions of learners who are coming on our platform, as well as we're working with lots of corporates. And what we are seeing as a trend is there is a shifting pattern that's happening. And this is in continuation with my earlier theme that where I left out in my opening remarks of having digital plus human skills. So if you look at 2019, and this is, and if you look at employed learners and what's shaping in terms of the skills, the skill trends in 2019 was largely, I would say, in terms of tech skills. And so if I look at the top 10 skills, it'd be around Python programming, neural networks, algorithms, regression, strategy, digital deep learning, and so on and so forth. What happened in 2020 is fairly interesting. And one of the top skills that was trending on our platform from employed learners was writing. Second was strategy or Python programming. But what's also interesting is some of the skills that have come into play as the top 10 is also mindfulness, meditation, gratitude, kindness, listening, and then algorithms and learning and so forth. And if you look at the World Economic Forum in terms of predicting what are the skills will be required going forward, would be in terms of analytical thinking, innovation, active learning, learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, leadership, social influence, resilience, stress tolerance, reasoning. And that really connects with the whole larger theme of having not just tech skills, but also build your human skills in terms of saying, how do I apply some of the technology and the power of technology in the right context, with the right ethics, and with the right intent, and to reach a certain objective. And I think that balance of both the things is going to be extremely critical for any student or any employed learner as well, because you are seeing a lot of trends in terms of upskilling, reskilling employees to make them more relevant to the kind of projects that's coming. So as an example, if digital transformation is the larger theme across every vertical in the world, and at the center of it, let's say, is the ITAS companies who are actually executing those projects. They have to they are already doing reskilling and upskilling of their employees to make sure that their skills are aligned with them. And when they are hiring students from campuses, they would be expecting the same kind of skills. And what we can do as an online provider based on data is we can pass on that insight about industry skill requirements at a job level, at a function level, and also at industry level to the campuses and say how we can help using our platform, our courses, and kind of blend it with your core curriculum. And that's where we come in. And that's our perspective. Back to you, Akhil.
Thanks, Vikrant. So, interesting. You spoke about mindfulness and meditation and the softer skills, and you look at a lot of classical Indian culture. We were talking about mindfulness meditation thousands of years before the scientists today have rediscovered it. So, maybe I can ask Rupa, in your mind, what can India teach the rest of the world in terms of developing these skills? What's unique about our culture and all that gives us that ability that we can share with the Western? And so all the time we keep on waiting for the Western institutions to give us input. What input can we give to the Westerners based on our culture?
Yeah, knowledge itself, we say in as our, the Gurus, right from the Guru Shishya Parampara, it's a supreme power. And, there are many teachings from Swami Vivekananda and other philosophers about what knowledge is. And they've all been knowledge seekers all their life. So it comes to a question of then, what is education? I believe that education has always been a very, very contextual subject between what a student needs to learn and what a student desires to learn. Especially in India, it has always been, just after the after the Macaulay influence, it has always been what a student needs to learn. So but either ways, it's extremely crucial, that this education helps an individual to find a meaningful place in the society. It's about acquisition of knowledge, acquisition of skill sets. This is as per our philosophy. while also facilitating the values that will ensure that this acquired knowledge will be put to the right use and the skills will be put to the meaningful use for the benefit of our society. So, mere accumulation of basic knowledge, is of very limited practical use unless it translates, to a more profound action, which provides in today's context, the economic or social value, which contributes to innovation. So I think it's this transfer of knowledge for economic growth that will impact the society at large and which has almost revolutionized the world. We are looking at a very big scale here. That's where there is a issue, because we are more than 265 million children in the school. We have about 50,000 colleges. We have, I think, 1,200 private 1,200 universities in India. Our GER is 26%. We are aiming at becoming 50% GR, the gross enrollment ratio. But even the GR of 26% is almost 8 million graduates every year. And these 8 million graduates, I think we are by far the largest university systems in the world. So I think it's imperative that we touch the lives of the students who are studying in the universities, in the colleges, and provide them skills that will make a sustainable, positive change to the society and add economic and social value to our country. That has been our parampara, and I think that is what needs to be continued. In NEP, there are several aspects which speak about Indic knowledge systems, about our culture, our culture, our heritage, our dance forms, our music. It speaks about multidisciplinary approach where dance forms and music can apply to the mainstream courses. So I think a no barrier education, a no barrier universal education is what was our parampara and is what is going to come into the future through NEP 2020. And it's about the implementation. The right implementation will bring in the real essence of the whole national education policy also. But yes, Indic knowledge systems is going to be an extremely important aspect in the curricula for the future of the students. I would in fact suggest a gap year. After 10th or after the 11th, that is going to be the crucial checkpoint for a student in the new education policy. I think there has to be a gap year where the student only learns about knowing self, knowing your country, knowing your culture. And that's when I think we will have robust children in the colleges who are aware of their identity more than anything else. And that's been a huge challenge right now, because when a student comes in after his 12th standard, their minds are so concretized into science, maths, art streams that it's extremely difficult for us educationists to break that ice and teach them these skills that are our parampara. So that's my view.
Very valid, I think, and of course, we all remember that thousands of years ago, India was the leader in education with Nalanda University and I think now we actually have a chance now with a focus on mindfulness and personality characteristics. I think we have a chance to now move towards becoming another leader in global education where people learn from us. Sandip, hopefully your connection is now fine. Are you okay? I think I think it's just a bad connection he has, unfortunately. Okay, so let me go back to RS. So RS, when you look at, let's say, education, most of our focus as universities is getting... No, unfortunately, Sandip, I think your connection is not very strong. You may want to connect. Can you hear us? We can't hear you. All right. Okay. So, when we look at most of our universities, a lot of our focus is on, let's say, getting students ready for the world of work. And, once they graduate after their bachelor's, master's, they are just moving on. However, as we all know, is that today the requirement is for lifelong learning. You have most people who are working for, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, have to keep on upskilling themselves, reskilling themselves. And very often as a university, we tend to sort of let the corporate world take care of itself. But what do you think that we as education institutions can do to promote lifelong learning in the corporate world? So someone who's worked for, let's say, 10 years, 15 years, what can we do to help to upskill them to make sure that they are still relevant throughout their career? Yeah.
It's a very relevant question, but I think very complex one also. When we talk about universities, again, all universities are not equally equipped and capable, neither in terms of technology nor in terms of vision and delivery. But I think what universities need to do, and I think we have experimented with a few of these things in our university, that as soon as a student enters the campus, there has to be some kind of a transformation of their thinking mind. And I will start by saying that design thinking we discuss very often, but one important aspect of design thinking, which I'm sure all my fellow panelists will agree, is that even when people are selected in corporate, they go to the corporate, they are given a problem. Okay, you solve it within 1 month. They do it in 28 days. They can do it in 25 days. But when a system is functioning, a working system, can a student detect some problem there? Can they find some fault with that system? That is actually what is design thinking, and that is the requirement of design thinking. That you try to find a problem, first identify a problem. And this is the part where most of our students are lacking. And these kind of experiments need to be done. Like we were saying, if you want to make a student a lifelong learner and also remain curious and fascinated by something that is happening around them, they must have a very strong observation. We experimented. I'll just take half a minute on this. First year students, we asked, especially engineering student, wherever you go to your home, go to your locality or village or whatever. And if you're an electrical engineer, try to find a problem related to electrical engineering and come out with a solution in the first semester. So we didn't, of course, give any grades for that, but we gave some awards for that. I mean, some cash awards and some trophies and all those kind of things. This is one. The second part is, you have to make them understand that knowledge or whatever they are gaining in 4 years may not remain relevant by the time they are passing out from there. For that, you need to make them, I use the word time and again, I stress a lot on that, enable them, empower them, so that they are able to learn and they are able to do that kind of rethinking, redesigning, relearning. Now, what the universities can do is, like what we do is, we try to give all the options to the students. We have defined core values also, like Madam Rupa was saying. Our core values are human dignity, humility, empathy, and giving. These are the core values which we propagate day in, day out for all these students. Then when they join the corporate, we follow them. Even the alumni, we try to keep in touch. What we are doing, we share with them. We offer them certificate courses. We offer them a lot of things. And I'm sure my friend from Coursera, Kumar Vikrant will agree with me that what is most important is to keep the spirit of learning among the students alive throughout their life. And this will be possible only if we give them something in addition and give them in a way that their mind is fascinated. Now, what is lacking in our university education today is that we tell the student, get a grade, and they will go to the class. If you fix the attendance, okay, you have to attend 75%. If you give a choice, they will not go. So that is where blended learning will come. So what we should try and what we are trying to do is that make the student get inspired to learn. So that is what is lacking in our system. And once you inculcate that, I'm sure, and then we are offering some kind of enhancement of qualifications to our industry partners also. And I'm very happy to share that we have more than 350 industry partners. I have 35 industry labs on my campus. So through that, we invite industry experts, the middle level, technical and managerial people, to come and improve their qualifications. We even have created a model where we say, okay, you remain where you are. You don't have to come to the campus. We arrange their classes and all that. And now that we are A+ accredited, so we have been allowed by the UGC to go in for some kind of online education and all. So to sum up, I think what is required is the basic training of the student should be in design thinking, and also in continuous learning to not only improve their qualifications, but to keep abreast with what is happening around the world. Thank you so much.
Very interesting. So actually, just jumping back to Vikrant, I noticed on the Coursera website is that you have all these university partners who are providing online courses, but the top most popular course is Finding Meaning and Purpose in Life by University of Michigan, and another one is about mindfulness again by I think Rice University. So what's happening with the universities abroad? I mean, like, how come they're suddenly offering stuff like this, and how? Okay, so finally, so from the viewpoint of like what Rupa said, is that there's a lot of stuff that the Indian culture can teach international universities about mindfulness and softer skills. But it seems the foreign universities themselves are also trying to teach mindfulness themselves. So what are they doing? Like, how are they doing it, and is it effective, especially in an online platform? Because online is not as easy as offline. So what's happening with the foreign universities teaching mindfulness online?
No, absolutely, and I think one of the operative word which Dr. Bawa mentioned is inspiring the learners, and I think that's very important. So, and I'll answer your question, Akhil, as well. But for inspiring the learners, I think there are a couple of factors that are very important. One, obviously, is the quality of discussion that happens with the faculty and the quality of engagement that happens. That's important. Secondly, it's the depth of learning and on a particular topic and where do you go with it, the applications of it. And thirdly, itself as to how wide your horizon is when you're trying to learn a thing. So, are you conceptually sound? Are you able to understand that? And once you understand that, applying it to real world problems, trying to solve them becomes much more easier because you're not just going by the book. So I think those are very fundamentals and foundational elements. And to answer your question, I think to give you an example, the science of well-being, there's a course which is from Yale University by Laurie Santos. And when COVID-19 hit, there are almost more than 2 million, learners who have completed those courses, and more so actually going through it. And I think what COVID-19 has done to allow learners to also see that beyond the tech skills, there is a larger aspect to making careers, work-life balance, and all those things come into play. And I think a lot of the universities, not only in India as well as abroad, have realized that that is also an important aspect for a learner, for a lifelong journey that he's going to take. And that's why you see a lot of these courses coming into play as well. So not only the tech skills, and again, connecting dots to my earlier points of a combination of digital and human skills. And that's why when I mentioned about the pattern that's changing from 2019 to 2020, mindfulness, gratitude, and all those things coming into play. So you'll see so when you're shaping, let's say, a learner's, learning path, at least on the online platform, you will see a combination of courses while someone is doing becoming a stack developer, full stack developer, but he's also learning about the human skills. How do I, connect with an audience? How do I speak well? How do I write well? How am I more open to ideas? How do I problem solve something? So a combination of that which makes impact. And I think universities abroad have realized that as well, and they're trying to create courses around that as well. And because the traction on such courses is immensely high, like I gave you an example earlier, there is a much more focus on that because there are lots of courses being done on the tech side, but there are gaps there which are not there. Not that there's no knowledge or information on that, it's just that a more structured way of learning has not been created. So whether it's a beginner level or intermediate or advanced. And that's why you see a lot of the foreign universities trying to create courses. And we're seeing a healthy growth or traction and growth in terms of the learner base who are taking such courses. So absolutely. Back to you, Akhil.
Okay, thank you. Very fascinating. So let's talk about, Rupa, let's imagine that you're talking to the HR, the human resource heads of the top 100 companies in India, and you have a chance to tell them what you want as an institute, what collaboration you want from them, how can they help us get our kids ready for the future of work. And I know that they're talking about they want skills, they want this, they want that, but instead of actually depending on only us as institutions to develop it, what can industry do for us as institutions or as Indian education to help us develop kids to be more employable? So imagine top 100 HR heads are listening to you right now.
I think this is a very, very complex question, and Yes, as educators, we've tried our best to, hone the students with different type of skill sets. What we need is that, the industry does not compartmentalize educational institutions into tier A, into tier B, into tier C, because there are a lot of these new institutions, new universities. Our university is just 3 years old. We have more than 18 to 20 collaborations from international universities, and industry is more than 100, So, we've tried to reach out to all of them. And what is necessary is, and also which is happening, is that the HR and the industry itself have a hub in institutions. And at a lower level, when it comes to skilling, we have a few industries who have set up their laboratories and their requirements at our institution itself. And the course that is delivered is a cusp of what the industry needs and what we have to offer. Like, we have a very robust tie-up with Bosch, we have a robust tie-up with IBM, and right from the first day of the course, they are involved with us in the delivery, and therefore in the learning outcome, and therefore they are aware of what is coming to them in future. So I think this kind of collaboration, not only at the university levels, but because they have their compartments of who do they affiliate with and where do they want to go. I'm very sure that a college in a remote village will obviously not have an access to a Bosch like we do, or maybe any other company. So I think reaching out from the four walls of their setup to the university and setting up an arm of theirs in the university, not as a CSR, but as future recruiters. I think it is very crucial that they do this activity. So if we have a handful right now, about 100 with us, I think it should be nothing less than 500 collaborations, and at least a 50 who are at our institutions, not only at the university level but at the college level, at B tier, C tier areas. Because I think our youth at the moment, we call it youth dividend, but the 8 million graduates, I'm very sure that about, as per the survey, it's only 67% who are really employable, and others are not. So I think that's where that bridge, that divide needs to come together. And they have to reach out, like how we have outreach mechanisms to the industry. We have training and placement departments, we have career and training departments. So we reach out to them, we reach out for our CSR, or our university social responsibility. Similarly, I think they need to reach out to us, and not only the tier A, who are almost in demand everywhere. So yes, so I think that's what I feel. Thank you.
Sorry, fascinating. So interesting. So there are people saying that there's like a trifecta in Indian education now because of the prevalence of technology, and also the thing is, the COVID actually forcing us to change our mindset to go online. And more importantly, we have the National Education Policy 2020 that now open up a lot of possibilities for us as education institutions. So let me talk to let me ask RS. So, RS, there are a lot of suggestions and a lot of insights that the NEP 2020 have given us. But in your mind, some may be easier to implement, some may not be easier to implement. So in your mind, which are some of the NEP suggestions that we should start implementing immediately, and what will take longer to do, especially with the respect to Industry 4.0 and getting our kids ready for the future?
Well, I think the NEP, if we look at it in totality, has certain, I would say, implications for the higher education. But I think it has focused more on school education. And I'll just make one remark about this policy, because I believe if it is implemented, you pointed out very rightly, whether implemented or not implemented, how difficult it is. But that aspect is that it is envisaged that for the first 5 years of a child's schooling must be devoted to languages and mathematics. I think this is one blunder that we have been committing for the last 70 years and even more. And our mathematics has been killed. There was a time when almost all foreign countries, especially US and Canada and Australia, will have mathematicians and statisticians who were from India. But now that part is missing. And I'm sure all my friends from universities will agree that the maximum number of failures in engineering in first year is in mathematics. And I tell you, it is so disgusting. What kind of students we shall be producing, what kind of engineers we shall be producing, whom you have to give grace marks to pass in mathematics. Now, this all has been done because of the wrong policies at the school level. And second thing, which I think, including Dr. Rupa, everybody will agree, that the casualty is communication skills. The students are not, I'm using the word emphatically, not proficient even in one language, even their mother tongue, they are not proficient. Now, proficient means you ask them, okay, write a paragraph on this thing without knowing or seeing anything. I'm sure 99% people will not be able to write, even at the MA level. Now, these are the things which have been addressed by the new education policy. And these are the things which I have been propagating for the last 25 years. I written to my own government at least 20 times that please change primary education. This is destroying our nation. Now, so this is one part which I think is very, very important. And this is the most difficult part also. Because taking a child at 3 years age and next 5 years teaching them all 3 languages, maybe mother tongue. My take is mother tongue, national language, Hindi, and one foreign language. And there is no bar on this. It is envisaged that there should be at least 2 Indian languages and the third can be any. So you teach 3 languages, and the new word has been called numeracy. And I love this word, numeracy. And most of us are innumerate. We do not know mathematics. I mean, we know anything, but we do not know. Our children in the schools are not there. This is one part which might take on schools. And if it is implemented, I tell you, it is going to revolutionize our education overall. Because after a student comes from +2, as was mentioned by a couple of my friends, you cannot transform them. You cannot make up for every weakness that they come with. And 2, especially communication skills, you cannot make them proficient and you cannot make them good in mathematics. You do n number of things. What we have been doing, 3 credit course, 5 periods, even then it doesn't make up for all that. Now, the higher education part, I think what is important in this is that it has been visualized that, number one, the institution should be viable. I'm not against any institution. But majority of our institutions, and like it said that more than 50,000 colleges, 1,079, if I'm right, universities, many of them are not viable. Many of them are not capable of delivering. I have no hesitation in saying this. Anybody may mind it or not mind it, but this is a hard fact. We are playing with the lives of those students. They are not capable. So what is envisaged is that a university must have at least 5,000 students. They must have all the infrastructure, or you form a group, a cluster, and you join. Similarly, for a college, 3,000 students and everybody is independent. They are now. You see, I am a college. I'm affiliated to X university. So whatever is being done, it is on the university. College is doing one thing, university is doing another thing. So then I'll not be able to pass on the buck to anybody else. All colleges are autonomous, all universities are autonomous. This is one big thing that is going to make tremendous difference, because I shall be responsible for the degree that I've given to my student. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work for me also. The second thing that is, I think, being done is that the difference between private and public universities is going to be eliminated. That, to my mind, is one big step. Because I'm not against any public university. I've served in public university for a long time, for about 33 years. Now I'm in a private university. But you see the kind of freedom that you have in a private university and the kind of opportunity that you got and the contribution that private sector is making. 75% of your engineering students are studying in private institutions. Similarly, about 70%, 65% students of other branches are studying in private sector. So you can't ignore them. And another important thing which some of my friends may not like, that, the total budget of the country is currently stands at less than 90,000 crores. And out of that, about 65% goes to schools. 35% comes for higher education. And out of that also, almost 70 to 80% goes to IITs and NITs and IIMs. This is unfair. I'm not against them, but this is unfair for a very simple reason, that you leave something for other institutions also. So what they have said, make every institution a multidisciplinary institution so that they are accountable. Now, if I am only teaching engineering, I am not accountable, because I'll say, okay, this is what I do in engineering, and my students are getting selected all over the world. So that is that. But now the students of other universities are also getting selected all over the world. So that kind of thing, that's another thing which is going to make a difference. And a separate institution for research, the National Research Foundation, which is going to create opportunities for all institutions, not again public institutions, to contribute to research and innovation. And to my mind, what will not be possible, but what will be very difficult to introduce, apart from this, of course, 4-year degree and multidisciplinary kind of thing, and you can do a research degree, all those things may not be applicable to all universities. But I think most difficult part will be to rationalize the structure of institutions. Otherwise, this education policy, if implemented in toto, to my mind, is going to make a difference. It's going to be a game changer. Thank you so much.
Great, really a message of hope for the future of Indian education, especially if we do well with NEP. So let me jump to Vikrant for a moment. Now, obviously, Coursera has been one of the most prominent education technology, EdTech companies in the world. But where do you see the role of EdTech in implementing some of the stuff about the NEP, like not just in the university level, but even at the school level, like what RS said, is that the school is where a lot of the development happens. So I know that we see other companies which are overfunded and they just keep on doing tuition classes, but I'm sure there's a lot more stuff in EdTech out there that can help us implement the goals and the plans that we have for getting kids employable for the long term.
No, absolutely, Akhil. And I echo some of the sentiments that my earlier speakers have mentioned. And I also want to address, in line with the question that you have just put up, the industry higher education alignment. And that's one area that we are extremely focused on. And that reflects in the fact that all the courses on our platform are a combination of university authored as well as industry authored. So when a learner comes on our platform, they get both perspectives. The secondly being, when we work with institutions, we bring in the insights of what skills are required by industry so that we can curate a learning path for the institutions as well as the learner. And thirdly, when we look at applied learning, and we have something called guided projects, what we do is we also work with the institution and also with the industry, which is in their local area, to create guided projects which are relevant to them, so that when students apply for jobs, they are much more better prepared in terms of how the knowledge that they have learned through courses and faculty interaction can be applied to real world problems, solving them. And solving real world problems requires multidisciplinary skills as well. And because it's an online platform, and when we do blended learning along with faculty, you get a chance to learn skills beyond the curriculum, learn other skills as well. So if someone is doing a mechanical engineering, he also knows about mechatronics and so on and so forth. If someone is learning allied health sciences, also knows about IoT. Someone is learning civil engineering, also knows about AI, IoT, those kind of things. And that connects to one of the couple of themes in the NEP that is something very, I'm personally very excited about. And I think if it's implemented well, it's going to be a big game changer. So I think what I really like about the NEP is the flexibility that it provides in terms of exit, choice-based credit system, exiting and joining at any point in time, being able to kind of accumulate the credits. Also the fact of multidisciplinarity and a holistic education, across sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, sports, for a multidisciplinary world. Another aspect which really excites me is about life skills. There's a theme on that, and there's a focus on that as well. So whether it's in terms of communication, cooperation, teamwork, and resilience. And there are multiple facets to the NEP. And I think, in my view, I think it's going to be a huge game changer. And the question is only about implementation. And we are looking forward to making and collaborating with the higher education to make an impact and work along those lines as well. So yeah, we are pretty excited personally.
Thanks, Vikrant. So, okay, I'm going to ask Rupa again for her imagination. So, we started this discussion with speculating what Industry 4.0 looks like in 20 years. So, let's speculate, what in your mind would universities look like over the next 20 years? What are universities 4.0 going to look like? Where do you see us growing?
So it's like this, this particular policy, with the policy, I see a huge change, in fact, almost revolutionary. And, they have given us a new direction, a new vision, a new architecture. I think which is large, which is well resourced, which is multidisciplinary in nature, which is skill oriented, and that which is not possible without blended learning. So all of us have to be very, very open to now ensure that the standardization practice, the evaluation practice revolves around blended learning mechanisms. And we need huge depositories of online content. And I have a colleague here who's also a speaker who's from Coursera. And yes, we need several such platforms, and further build our own university platforms and digital infrastructures as well, for our colleges, for the institutions that are around us. And the future is with blended learning when it comes to universities and colleges. And it's not about using digital technologies, just for teaching and learning, but it's rather approaching it with a critical pedagogical perspective. And we need to reach out to the rural masses. That's where the issue lies. And our university is based out of Rayalaseema, and we work with a lot of it's a backward area, and we work with a lot of these children at the higher education level. And I think the inaccessibility word, should be rubbed off, and I think it will be if we achieve the 50% GR. I think the digital content space have to be and digital infrastructure have to be built. That has to be a valuable site for information, for knowledge, for exchange. And I think these are going to really help our teachers, our learning mechanisms. And as R.S. Babaji earlier explained, even the national education policy rightly identified the failure of our Indian education system, and directly correlated with the school education. So I think research education now needs to be more meaningful, now needs to be more enjoyable for students. Now that we have a blackboard where we can, define our flexibility the way we would like to at the universities and at the state level, although with checks and balances. I think this digitalization and the building the digital infrastructure becomes crucial. The issues we will have, and have had in education sector itself has been very complex, and by its very nature. So it stands to the reason that, our solutions also need to be multifaceted, and that have to address different issues at the same time. And I think the success of our national education policy also relies on, laying the plans phase wise, considering a grid, and at every level monitor and evaluate, what's ineffective, what's effective. And ineffective approaches should be replaced or improved. I think that's what the university education looks like to me for the next 20 years. Completely flexible. A student enters a university and says, these are the 5 different courses that I would like to take up. This is music, there's history, there is math, and there's biology. And we should be able to provide that to a student. So that's, I think, version 4 of the education sector. So this is what I feel.
Lovely. So, in fact, so I've been on many education panels earlier, but I'll say one of the real fantastic experience here and surprise is that we've actually managed to complete our discussion on time. All of you guys have kept your points very short and sharp, under 5 minutes, but a huge amount of content. I think this is one of the most content-filled discussions I've had, where it's hard-hitting points from all of you in a very short, sharp manner with this rambling. So I'd like to thank all of you for being with us and really fantastic inputs. And I think RS wants to say something. Go ahead. You'll have to unmute yourself. RS? You'll have to unmute yourself. Your mic is off.
Yeah, I'll unmute myself. I think, yeah. I am unmuted now?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Correct.
Okay. I just want to add a little bit to what Dr. Rupa has said.
Sure.
What needs to be transformed is the way students look at education and the way universities look at education. The major difference between Indian universities and foreign universities, I wanted to say this at that time, but somehow I didn't get time.
Yeah.
You look at the student. The student there takes charge of his or her life early. And therefore, they are very, very responsible people, majority of them. Number two, the universities look at the education as a source of meeting aspiration of the student. So we need to change the way we look at education. The universities will be as per the aspiration of the student. You cannot be away from the students' thinking and students' way of life. So we need to transform. And one thing which I think we shouldn't feel offended about is that truth is something which is paramount importance to all the students. They don't care about whether their parents like it or not. They'll say what is right, they think right, what is they think wrong. But we teach our children right from the beginning to tell lies and to cheat and to do all those kind of things. This is a major difference. And unless we change the psyche of the student, and the universities must do this as the first thing to change the way the student think about education. And the second thing, the universities must also start thinking that we have to meet the aspiration of the student. We are not here just to kind of give a different meaning or direction to the student, and if I may be a little harsh, to cheat the student. So let this transformation that will take place, and the future universities will be resource creators. They will be like, Coursera has started. I'm sure the base is some university which actually took courage and started creating these kind of things. So every university should be able to create these kind of things. That should be at least a few of the universities of the future should be there. Thank you so much for your time.
Very, very valid point, and a great point to end our discussion, which has been really full of great content and great insights. So thank you all for your time. Gopi, I'll pass it on to you.
Hi, thank you so much for Dr. Bawa. Thank you so much for ending this session on a very important note, and Dr. Akhil Shahani for moderating this session so well. So thanks to all eminent panelists for bringing out very important data points and stats and deliberating various aspects of emerging skills, employability, and future of work at this very important higher EdTech innovation conclave. We at APAC News Network will continue to create such forums and platforms for deliberations so that we collectively move in the right direction for new and better India. Just to mention, we are also tweeting live and engaging right stakeholders on other various platforms, social media platforms. So I would request to stay tuned for more updates, and you can also share the live updates from other social media handles of APAC News Network. Let me just thank our moderator, Dr. Akhil Shahani, Managing Director, the Shahani Group, for moderating this session, Dr. Rupa Vasudevan, Chancellor, Best Innovation University, Dr. R.S. Bawa, Pro-Chancellor, Chandigarh University, Mr. Sandip Kumar Banarjee, President, Adamas University, Mr. Kumar Vikrant, Regional Director, Coursera for Campus, for joining us for this session. Thank you so much for joining us for this important session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.